Those you watching Safiya Breakfast show. Now, Northern Elders Forum on Tuesday, the 17th January, threatened to sue the immediate past Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Azubike Ehejurika, and 6 others to the International Criminal Court of Justice, ICC, in The Hague over their alleged role in last year's violence in Bama and Giwa Barracks, all in Borno State, in a bid to end insurgency. What is the implication of this action to the fight against insurgency in Nigeria? To discuss this, we are now joined by Dr. Lionel Rawlins, Security Coordinator of the American University of Nigeria here in Yola. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning. Barakada Salam.
Barakada Safiya.
How are you?
Fine. How's your weekend?
It's good.
Nice.
Busy but good.
Yeah,
all right.
it's always busy.
Always busy.
Busy in security, always busy.
I don't think there is a time where you've really had time to relax. Although I know you saw them do.
He said never will.
You never do. You
always
never
on the move, always on alert.
You always have to be prepared, you know.
That's good.
So let's just have, a review of some of the activities since the declaration of, state of emergency in those 3 states, as Borno, Adamawa State, and Yobe State. Has there been any improvement security-wise now since the declaration of state of emergency?
Of course, you can measure. Success is always measured, and if you measure the success that's been happening here, is you have less atrocities, less killings, less bombings. It happens, but is less frequent, and the amount of people who are being targeted and killed are fewer. So if you want to measure success from that extent, it has been successful. So the campaign that has been waged against bad guys is working, and for that matter, we should all hail the people who are actually out there making it safe for us to go on the streets and do the things we want to do. At the same time, we have to be patient when we go through the checkpoints and these things, because the people who are doing what they're doing know what they're looking for and know what they're supposed to be doing. We don't know because we just sitting in the car passing through. So I would ask for all of us to be patient when we go through those places, or to make time when you're going somewhere, to give yourself room that when you do go through the checkpoint, you're not running in haste.
Okay. Right. Else it will raise a sort of a suspicion.
Yes, because if you go through and you start acting strangely and fiercely and aggressive, these are grounds to pull you over and search you more extensively. Exactly, as if I were working at a checkpoint, and you acted strangely or aggressively towards me, I'll pull you over, even just to waste your time.
So basically, what is required of everybody is a sense of cooperation.
Yes, I mean, we are all in this together. We do not like to be inconvenienced, and we all know that. It happens all over the world. It's in America. You go through the airports, we have to stand in lines for 30 minutes, sometimes an hour, depends on where you're going and how many people are catching that flight. So, but we get frustrated and we get angry and we say things and we do things. But the thing is, I would rather you do due diligence and check everyone before we all go on that plane, so that the plane doesn't come down after 30,000 feet in the air.
Sure. But let's assess, or rather rate the performance of security personnel during this period. How have they performed?
I would give them a B+.
B+?
Yeah,
A B+.
A B+.
That's
because
a good grade.
A very good grade.
It's a good grade.
That is
a good grade. A means things are perfect and you're 100%, and they're not there yet. But a B+, again, is all things are measurable. And if you're measuring it by the amount of attacks and assaults and the amount of people who have been killed, by all means, it has been reduced. And yes, you can give them a B+. If the killings and the attacks and the assaults were continuous, and were to the extent that here we were being ostracized because of the curfew and everything, we would have dropped it to a C or maybe a D. But they're doing well, and sometimes we don't like what they do, but they're doing it because it's a just cause.
Because why I ask this question is because some have, actually, I don't know what to use the word accuse, but rather they've said some of the security personnel were actually part of, or rather, let some things happen.
What do you mean, let some
allow
things?
it to happen?
They know something that's going on and they would intentionally let it happen? Accusations. Well, just like everything else, the security personnel are always the brunt of every assault because we don't like security personnel. We don't like law enforcement. We do not like the military because they enforce policies, laws, procedures. And so they're the people we take it out on because you cannot do it to the lawmakers and the policy makers. So you take it out on the people who actually are enforcing the rules and the regulations. And it's always been that way, and it will never stop being that way. But in every organization, you always have some bad people. You always have that percent that is always going to do things contrary to what they're supposed to do. And when they do that, it makes everybody look bad. And yes, you're going to always find the people. I wouldn't doubt that it happens because there are unscrupulous people in every organization, in the police and in the military. I've actually served with people like that in the U.S. military who would do things that they weren't supposed to do, and it make you make your hair stand up, and to say, why would you do a thing like that when you know it's wrong, and it's so wrong, and it's not like it was sneaky or anything. It was just stupid, and so yes, I would imagine it goes on here within the armed forces, but for the most part, the majority of them are trying the best, and for the few bad apples or bad eggs who are out there doing things, we shouldn't take it out on the entire service or agencies that are out there trying the best.
Okay.
All right. Now I know you've you in terms of assessment, you give them a B+, which is under the cumulative frequency calculation for GPs or CGPAs in schools. That is 4.5.
Yes.
Over 5. Now we have a fraction of 5 hanging somewhere, which goes to show that there are still possible weaknesses that the law enforcement agents have not been able to put together. Now we're going to look at that place and see what needs to be done to see that they have their footings on ground to be able to handle the situation properly and effectively. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
All right, we've been discussing Nigeria's security situation with and the ICC with Lionel Rawlins von Frederick, Security Coordinator, AUN. The discussion will continue right after this break. Stay with us.
Welcome back. It's Safiya Breakfast Show, and we are here discussing the recent threats by Northern elders to prosecute the immediate past Chief of Army Staff at the ICC for crimes against humanity. We have here Dr. Lionel Rawlins, Security Coordinator of the AUN. He's been discussing this and giving us his perspective, rather, on the same issue. Now we have, the Northern elders of recent, just on the 17th of January, saying they're going to prosecute the immediate past Chief of Army Staff, Ihejerika, on the alleged role or participation in the attack carried out in Bama in Borno State. You're aware of that?
I am, yes.
Attack?
Yes.
How possible do you think that is?
Well, it's not, I don't believe it's going to go anywhere. The reason for that is the ICC was formed, it's just formed in 2002. And it was formed because there was a need to prosecute people who commit real human rights violations and egregious crimes and atrocities. And this is like when you're killing people in the thousands and so forth. And the accusation cannot, if you have to have some concrete evidence to show that this in fact took place. Now, I'll be the first to tell you, if this in fact did happen, and it was done intentionally with the intent to deliberately destroy these people and to kill them and to commit these human rights violations, because the army is supposed to be a professional disciplined force, I would say yes, prosecute them, because you're not supposed to do that. That's why they train you. If someone is across the street firing at you, and you're in the military, not because they see everybody running away, I mean you're supposed to retaliate and shoot everyone. It doesn't work that way. Of course, you would want to, but you don't do that.
Because you don't know who and who is attacking
exactly.
at that
You
point.
don't know who is shooting, and then you start killing innocent people. And as a trained military force, you should know that. So I'll be the first to say, if it did in fact happen and it can be proved, then do it. But on the other side of the coin, being in combat and war before, I know that things get murky when there's a fight going on. Yeah. There's a lot of dust, there's smoke, there's fire, there's screaming, there's noise, there's a certain smell, and everybody becomes disoriented after a while. And sometimes you can't even hear anything. It depends on what kind of artillery or how close you are to the sound of gunfire. So when that happens, when everything clears, there might be 10 or 15 people dead, but then when you read the news report, it says there's 100 people who are dead. And I've seen that happen where I've picked up 10 dead bodies, and when I saw CNN, it says 150 people were killed. So they have to be able to prove it. Now, the ICC, on the other hand, they're under the pressure and under the gun for prosecuting only Africans. And they're there to prosecute all bad people. And so far, they've only been prosecuting Africans. And people have committed really, really atrocious crimes. Even today, after the genocide in Rwanda, they still cannot even prosecute all those people who are on the run, who were part and parcel of the genocide that took place. And this is like almost 20 years later. So I'm not so sure if this is going to make a huge impact on the ICC, because they have other pressing things to do. And we don't know for a fact that they have the proof.
But for the person like Lieutenant General Azubike Hejerika holding that kind of position, being the chief of staff in Nigeria and facing such accusation, and what do you think what will be the effect of such accusations on his person and on the office he held before stepping out?
Well, one of the things it can do is the next person filling his shoe is going to be wondering, would the same thing happen to me? If I were called to go to Maiduguri and to carry out some military strategy and tactics against the bad guys, if a certain amount of people got killed in the ensuing act, would I be prosecuted as well? And so that would tend to make people tread softly and not really do what they're supposed to do. And it also, from what I've heard, what I've been hearing too, is that it's a certain, whatever group, I think it's the Igbo tribe, ethnic group that the general is from, now up in arms and saying that it's an assault on the Igbo people. and they're probably not going to take it that lightly. So, on one hand, you have a group of military people who don't want to take action because they're afraid that they too will be prosecuted, and on the other hand, you have a group of Igbo people who feel that is an assault on their ethnicity, and they too might rise up and say enough is enough, and create some instability in the nation. So we better tread softly and carefully when we plan to do that. So in the part of the general, usually, even if he did not give the order to go out and do this, the fact that he was the man at the top,
exactly,
is more than enough for them to go after him. You may not go after the guy who pulled the trigger, but the man who is in charge, you always go after him, because it's one of those leadership things, that the theory that is being taught in schools. If the man at the top does not understand what's going on below, then let's get rid of him. Even if he was so far removed from what took place, they will have, somebody has to be the fall guy, and it's usually the man at the top. And that's why they're going after him. And 6 others.
Yeah, 6 others, definitely. So we have 7 of them.
All in all. Yeah, but let's look at it critically from another dimension. We know that, yes, there are threats that they're going to ICC. The Northern Elders are saying they're going to ICC. And we have Ejirika in front of the whole of this matter. But can he alone take out the decision without passing through the Supreme Council or the National Supreme Council that is getting people like the Minister for Defense involved? Can he do that? And
even the President, some of these things can actually pass through the President before actions.
Well, it may affect a lot of people if it even go to the ICC, because the Lieutenant General is working for a general. He's working for someone who is above him, and then the general who's above him is also working for the President. So if this gets pulled through if it did make it to the ICC, it may, who knows, the President might be called into question as well. What if he does not win the election? He's an ordinary citizen. They may pull him in to talk. But again, in every combat, every war, there's always collateral damages. And the extent of the collateral damage must be so severe that when they drop a drone on a house in a neighborhood, people die. People around die. People out farming, they die. People out riding a bike, going to school and work, they die. And we don't go out looking after the Bush or President Obama or somebody and prosecute them, because it's a war and people expect that. Now, I think one of the difficult tasks facing the general is the extrajudicial killings that they say were going on in these underground rooms. So if that could be proven, he might be in trouble. But I don't think that the fact that he did his job and did it to the best of his ability, I don't think that's enough to prosecute him.
All right. Then on that note, we'll say thank you very much for coming on the show this morning.
It's always my pleasure to sit every Monday morning with both of you, especially you, man.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Well, that was Dr. Lionel Rawlins discussing Nigeria's security situation and ICC. Turning to health matters now, yesterday, January 26th, was World Leprosy Day. This day was chosen to commemorate the death of Gandhi, the leader of India who understood the importance of leprosy. How much do you know about this disease? Dr. Steve John, Program Manager, Tuberculosis and Leprosy Control at Adamawa State, will be joining us right after this break to tell us more about this day. Don't go away.